Okay, I believe we're live now.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, so I'm Tammy. I'm the owner of the Sewing Cafe, and we're in Georgetown, Ontario, and I've invited here a Canadian source of designing your own quilts. You don't have to deal with the hard-to-learn software. We've got PreQuilt. So Laura and Gar run PreQuilt out of Toronto, Ontario, so nice and local to us. And guess what? Laura's the support, a quilter who's doing support. She'll actually understand what you're talking about when you say HST.
Yeah, when you reach out to somebody, it's me.
Welcome, Laura.
Thank you for having me. All right. Do you want me to just dive right in, or what
Yeah,
would you?
let's do that. And we'll let people know that as you have comments, just go ahead and type them in, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, they will come through to us. And I'll be the interrupter, and I'll interrupt Laura with any questions you have.
Yes, please do. So thank you again. And like Tammy said, it's my husband Gar and I. And so I'm the quilter and the customer service and all the things. But Gar is the web developer, and so he's really that technological know-how. But together we've paired up, and we just got our registered trademark, so I added it there. But we are an online software application that helps you, a quilter, visualize and design and then make your own quilt ideas. And so what I want to try to really emphasize is that PreQuilt lives online. It's a website that when you go to prequilt.com, it looks like this or some variation to it. Up here in the top right corner where it says pricing free demo, we do have a free option where you can play with it. You can do pretty much everything that you can do inside, not printed fabric swatches, and you can't save, but it gives you an idea of whether the software is something that you would enjoy before committing to paying for it. And so what's great about being an online software is that you just need the internet and a browser. We highly recommend Google Chrome. It seems to be the least buggy. Everything's saved to the cloud, and you can use it on a PC or a Mac. Tablets work as well, but we have found that as our software grows and becomes more complex, it does become challenging to use it on a tablet. So having the ability to use a mouse is really great. And then in addition to always being in online, whenever we make a new feature or we add something to the website, the next time you log in, you have the newest version of it. So you never have to worry about version control or if what you have is out of date. We always have everybody on the most up-to-date version of PreQuilt. So I just kind of want to backpedal a little bit and kind of tell you where we started from. So like Tammy was saying, I'm a quilter, and I had this 100-color charm pack, and I was trying my best to do this in Illustrator, really banging my head on it, to be honest. And Gar kind of looked over my shoulder and he was like, I could totally do something online that could help you plan out your quilts. And I was like, okay, game on, you do that. And we pretty much finished around the same time. And this became kind of our beta. And this was a custom coloring page that fit that quilt. We had our first version of the remix, which is now called the randomize. It had like a twin option, like there's a mirror image to things. You could look at how much fabric you needed. So you could see, okay, I have a lot of that purple. Maybe I don't want so much of it. And it would dynamically update, and you could download a picture of it that you could print out. And so that still lives online. Here's the URL for it. I never remember. But it didn't also always have to be warms and cools. Those were just the buckets that we put it into. It could be any kind of colors that you wanted. And because at the time I was a real free spirit buff, I don't buy as many now because their color card is really shrunk, but that was kind of the colors that we had built into it. And so taking a step back, we named it. I can't believe we could get that name, to be honest. but we named it, and then we realized, okay, what's the value of this? It's really amazing to be able to visualize your quilt ideas before you actually make the quilt. And we figured if this was so helpful for me, maybe this would be helpful to other designers and their customers. And so here's an initial collaborator that we worked with called Initial Case Studio. And what we did is we built out custom digital coloring pages of people's quilts. We loaded it as the cover quilt, but then we gave their customers the ability to change the colors, but still stay within the logic of the pattern. And another really great, another great byproduct of this is that it always was sharpening our application. If a quilt came in, we needed to figure out how we could do these on points and have square triangles, or how do we work with different ideas. And so this was something that I wanted to make during the pandemic. A friend of mine was having a baby, and so I was very restricted to what I had in my stash. And so I recolored it. I mocked it up using these fabrics. Again, I had a lot of free spirit in my stash. And to be honest, this color right here was not really a free spirit solid. I think it was like a woven that I just picked a color close enough to see if it all would work together. I got really happy, very excited about the quilt, and that gave me the confidence and also the initiative to get started. And you can see here, like, what I learned also was that if you print this out in color, it becomes a really excellent quilt map. If you're playing mind games by being like, okay, I'm using this color instead of that color off the cover quilt, it can very quickly become confusing. And so this saved me, because I didn't flip these half square triangles the way I might have had I still been working off that cover quilt as my guideline. And it's always easier to figure it out when you're piecing it than when it's all quilted and bound. And as I'm sure everybody knows. And I find like the colors were very true to the final output. I don't know if you can see it, but there is a little bit of a shot cotton woven in here, little kidlets as well. But I was really happy with how it turned out. And in addition to using things I already had on hand and then buying a fun backing for it, it just really helped me feel excited about what I was doing. So this is just to really hit you over the head with it. The difference between this quilt that I'm showing you by Satterwhite Quilts and the next one is only the background fabric that's being used. So here for fabric 01, it's Kona Snow. Excuse me. And I feel like this is really calming. It's really happy. It's a lovely quilt. It's very tranquil. But one change, which is just the background fabric, I feel like changes the energy that the quilt has. So now it feels very stormy, a lot of dynamic energy. And I don't think that one is better than the other. I love them both, but it's really like, what's your intention? And you might not want to find out after you've pieced the whole thing that, oh, okay, that one difference actually did have quite the impact on my quilt. So I think that this, again, is just like so overwhelmingly powerful in your quilt making. So for the rest of the presentation, I want to talk about how PreQuilt could just be a tool in your quilting practice. How can it help you make the quilts that you want to make? I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can use PreQuilt to reverse engineer a block and design your own quilts. We're going to talk a little bit about randomization to play. And so I think that's one of the great features about PreQuilt, is that you don't always have to know exactly what you want to do. You can come in with a little seed of an idea and play through it. Definitely you can use your stash, or you can use part of your stash and then go shopping for the other aspects that you need. You can make the quilt easier now because we have fabric calculations. So anything that you design yourself will be able to have fabric calculations. You can give new energy to things that are in your UFO pile and orphan blocks. And then at the very end, I'll show you that we have an amazing marketplace where very talented independent pattern designers, quilt pattern designers, have recreated their quilts in PreQuilt, and then you can color those or mock those up for free using solids, or you can subscribe to PreQuilt to use printed fabric. And then you buy the pattern from them. They tell you how much fabric you need, but you can mock it up using the fabrics of your choice. Sorry, excuse me. So I'm just going to dive right in and just talk a little bit about reverse engineering and what that means. So this is the quilt that I'm going to kind of use as my example here. It's a simple sawtooth star, but I have a little bit of a variety in it, an A block and a B block. And also the reason why I use this block as an example is we also have a free course that is built out on YouTube and in a written help guide. And so I wanted to show you something that you could then learn how to recreate through the course. So I think the first important step to being able to reverse engineer an idea is to be able to break it down into a grid. What I've done is mimicked the grid lines that are available in PreQuilt, and you can see how we're going to need some squares. We're going to need maybe a bigger square or 4 small squares. And then there's really 2 ways that you can make these points. You can make them in half square triangle blocks, or you could, kind of get rid of that one grid line and then you have flying geese. And the important thing that I want to emphasize here is you should build your block with intention on how you'd like to make your quilts. If you hate flying geese, don't create your quilt block in PreQuilt using flying geese, because the fabric calculator is going to tell you how to cut your fabric for flying geese, and vice versa. So this video is going to show you how you can create that sawtooth star. The first thing is to create a quilt. My default is 12-inch block. And so what that means when I open up and create a new quilt is that I'm going to have a very big 120 by 120, because every default is 10 rows and 10 columns. But I can very quickly and easily resize this to a much more manageable size of 5 columns and 5 rows. And so I have a really nice lap quilt, 60 by 60. It always comes with the default half square triangle. I'm just going to delete that, get it out of the way. But I'm going to make a custom block. I recommend naming your blocks, because with the fabric calculator, it gets confusing if they're all no name. And this is where those grid lines are being used. So you can break down the block in PreQuilt the same way we kind of broke it up in that sketch. We have these shapes that you can import. So I'm going to bring in a square, and I'm just going to pause it real quick here, because I think the hardest thing for me to communicate in a way is fabric links. So a fabric link is a buddy between a particular fabric and a piece of a quilt. And when you link fabric link A to this piece, it's that piece of the quilt is always going to show up whatever fabric link A is using. And it'll make more sense throughout the duration of all these videos, but I just wanted to kind of pause and talk about that buddy system with the fabric links. So I'm going to settle on Sassy Pink, and when I move that into the corner, it will be able to snap into place. And you can really quickly and easily just clone these shapes, and you can see I'm getting just close enough, and when I let go, it'll snap into the corners, because that's what the power of the grid lines do. Now I want to start making out those points. And so the top and the bottom, I'm going to make into half square triangles. So this shape, I'm going to link it to fabric link B, which right now is using Kona Black. So it's linked to that, and I can move that in. And when I clone it, I can then link the other piece to fabric link A, which is using pink now. And now I can just really quickly just copy and paste, clone those 2 pieces together. so that I'm making this very simple for myself to very quickly sketch through ideas or recreate ideas without a lot of manual labor. Now I can also select all 4 of those pieces, clone those, and then rotate them. And now we have the top and the bottom points very quickly. We call it clone because we used to have a sheep. And then, nobody understood that. So anyway,
Dolly.
yeah, exactly. So we can manipulate these shapes as well. So I brought in an equilateral triangle or an isosceles triangle and just stretched it out. And now it's that body of the flying geese. We can bring in a triangle, rotate it, link it to fabric link B, and just clone that and rotate it. And now we really quickly have our flying geese. And you can select all of those. Sometimes you can just move it around to make sure you have all 3 pieces selected, clone it, rotate it, and now we really quickly have our star points. And now what's all missing is the center. I'm going to link it to the B because I want that to be a solid, move it into the corner, and then I'm going to manipulate it. And again, because it's snapped, I just need to pull that handle just close enough, and then it's going to snap and fill the space. And so I can save that now to the quilt. And there's our block, but it's not in the quilt yet. And this is where we totally ripped off Excel, Infinity, selects them all, and we can put that into our quilt. And now we have a sawtooth star using 25 of the same block.
So the fabric links, Laura, that means if I recolor one, it'll recolor everything that color?
Yeah, exactly. So everything that's linked to fabric link A, so in this case, it would be this square, this triangle, this triangle, this triangle, this square, and then the same down here. One change will push that change to all of them so that you're not using a lot of manual labor to be like click, change, click, change, click, change, click, change. So yes, exactly.
So if I thought that maybe later on I'd want to play with the larger triangle they turned from a equilateral triangle, yeah, the flying geese one there. Could I do it the same color now, but as a separate fabric link, even though they're separate?
Yeah.
Even though they're the same color?
Yep, totally. I could link that to fabric link C and then just change C to the same sassy pink temporarily, but always be able to change it later. And that's totally doable as well. Yep.
So when we're designing these blocks, we have to think about how we want to color them in the future.
Yeah. I mean, you can always go back and edit it. That's not a problem.
Okay.
And so as you come up with ideas and you want to play, and this is where I think that play factor really comes into, because you're not set in stone. It's not really very hard to go back and make it a little different. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks. And I know the fabric links is kind of hard. In the course, I have like videos that kind of like really try to overemphasize how they're used, because I think once you get it, it really unlocks a lot of possibilities. So, and here I'm going to show you kind of similar to what Tammy was asking about, where you can use more fabric links. So in this example, I kind of am getting, I'm not seeing the stars so much anymore. I'm starting to see these squares and these diamonds. And so one of the ideas that I have is maybe if I clone this entire block and it's saved as version 2 and I edit it, maybe what I can do is define the stars a bit more. And so what I'm going to do right now, they're identical twins, and people, the initial reaction is, okay, I'm just going to change it from pink to green. Well, now everything has changed to green because it was used in all of those versions. So what you want to do is you want to go back. You want to change fabric link A back to a pink. And now what you want to do is instead you want to select all those pink pieces. You can right click, select all. And now I'm going to link it to fabric link C. And so this is where you can start introducing other fabrics without changing the initial or original idea. And so now we have 2 blocks, but you don't see the blue block in the quilt yet because we haven't placed it in the quilt. You can use these quick select methods where you check your board odd and even, and then you can add all of those to the quilt. And so now I feel like we're getting back to the star being the emphasis instead of kind of the background pieces. And I just feel like that idea is kind of coming. Now, this is where I think the most fun and the power of PreQuilt really is the color randomizer. So maybe I really didn't love those colors. They were just kind of there they were so different from one another. I could clearly identify what fabric was being used. But maybe I have particular plans. And so I really love this acid lime. And I want to know what can I do with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock it because my intention is I definitely want to use acid lime. But when I use the randomize button in the top, it will randomly pull from Kona, and you can set what it's pulling from. And I can just keep going through locking things as I find things that I like. And this is where you can have a lot of fun playing with different fabrics. You can get close enough. You're like, oh, I really like that purple, but maybe that's not the purple. And you can then go in and manually select what purple it is that you want. But you're using that randomization feature to really get you close to what your final decision is. And again, you can download the image and it'll give you what fabrics you're using, how many blocks, and you can download that and print it off and then have that with your plans.
And that's what you bring to the quilt store.
And that's what you bring to the quilt store in addition to what I'm going to show you soon. And so if you want to use printed fabrics, you can definitely use things from your stash that you can no longer find online. I think the best thing is always going to be the digital swatch because there's a repeater that will be built in. But if you have things that you can't find record of online, you can definitely take a picture from as close to parallel and have a little ruler, and then that gives you an idea of the scale. Or you can go shopping. So what I have here is we go to PreQuilt, there's the quilts dashboard, but there's also a fabric dashboard, and this is where you manage all your fabric. We are trying to preload a lot of collections, but right now the only one that we have everything for is Ruby Star. And we have a couple others. But if you want to import something that you found from your local quilt shop and you want to plan out your ideas, this is where you would go. You would go to My Fabric. You can see here, these are the things that I've loaded in. And so what I'm going to do is I went to sewingcafe.ca. I went into the fabric and the quilting fabrics, and I went to the prints. So now I can look at all the swatches, all the ideas. I can find something that I really like and I want to make, and I know it's available. And when I click on, put that in a new tab, what I can do is I can right click and save as. So from Tammy's shop, they save into a folder. And then what I need to do is go back to PreQuilt and I just go bulk upload. So you can do a lot of them all at once. It doesn't need to be one at a time. So you can download them from the manufacturer as well, but you want to get the JPEG. So this is the JPEG. That's what I saved from Tammy's website. You can see it's, and now you'll notice the ruler along the bottom. That's actually very helpful, but we don't want it showing up in our quilt. And so this is what we do. You want to be able to set the scale. So you want to make sure those flowers are coming in at the right scale. So that ruler is really helpful. And then once you set the scale, just drag and crop it out. So the ruler will no longer show up in the quilts themselves, but it had its purpose, and now it's done. So now that fabric and the green one that I loaded before as well are ready for me to use in my quilt. And so
and to scale too.
What?
And to scale too.
And to scale, exactly. So you're not going to see that and be like, oh, it'll fill my whole, my whole star. Well, it won't, because it's this lovely smaller print. So this is how, now that you have it in PreQuilt, this is how you get to see it in PreQuilt in your quilt. So again, you go to edit the fabric link, and this is where really quickly I can push this new decision. Instead of having purple stars, I want to use this printed fabric. So even though the ruler shows up, it's not going to show up in the quilt. And so now it's just pushed that idea to everything, whether it was an A block or a B block, they're all now using the same printed fabric. And now I might want to just lock that and find out what solids are going to work with that really beautiful printed fabric. Again, I like to just use it in this way where I lock it and then I keep pulling. Again, there's a lot of different ways that you can work with it. It's no single way to use PreQuilt correctly. But now I'm really excited about making these A blocks, B blocks, using this really beautiful, I think it was from Benartex. I have a hard time saying that name, Benartex. And so I can see it's these 2 blocks. And so again, I could, if I knew the quilt math and I was really good, I could just take that list and go to the shop. But if you don't know the quilt math, this is where our new feature that we came out with last year is going to really help you with that. So I'm back with my star. I played with it some more. I changed my mind. I got some different fabrics. And so when I click on that fabric calculator button, sorry, it was underneath the paint bucket. It will open up a new tab and it will show you what the quilt looks like. If you don't have it, you can just click on that. It'll show you how many of the blocks you have, but it'll also tell you how much fabric you need. So it's saying like 1 1/4, 2 1/4, and 1 and change. And again, this is where like having the intention, like maybe I don't actually want to make it with flying geese or half square triangles, but this example, usually people make it with one or the other, but this example really shows you both options. And these all have labels that you can see, A1, A2, A6. These all are identifiable for the block piece that it is. And then below, it'll tell you what you need to cut to make a flying geese. So if you make a flying geese at 1 at a time, you'll need a rectangle and 4 squares. But if you want to make it 4 at a time, it will dynamically update and tell you now you need 1 large square and 4 smaller squares. And so it dynamically updates and changes what your fabric requirements are going to be based on how you're going to make this quilt. And the same is true with the half square triangles. We have a few formulas, with trim, without trim, 8 at a time, with trim, without trim, and you can apply all. And so that'll make every half square triangle, the math will come back being at 8 at a time. I don't know why we didn't do that for the flying geese. Maybe I should ask for a change. But now you can see, I don't know if you remembered, but it told us we needed 1 1/4 of that yellow, and now we only need just over 1 yard. So again, this is where you can save a little bit of fabric if you want to play with how the construction method, or you could go with like that safer option. And you can change the width of fabric. So printed fabric usually has a very big selvage. Some companies are larger than others. And so we might want to keep that at 42 or even 41. My mouse is moving around to tell you that these are all the labels, so you can figure out what, if you're confused as to what that piece is supposed to be doing, you can click on it and it'll show you what block piece it is. Actually, I should redo this video because now you can hover over it and it'll show you an image of the block. You don't have to go back to the blocks to be able to identify it. It'll tell you. But again, this gives you a really good, at least starting point for how much fabric you'll need. And it gives you the rationale on how we came up with that number, so that you have confidence. And this is what you take to the shop to then say, okay, I know how I'm going to make this quilt. I know how much backing I need. Again, you can change the width of fabric, you can change your overage, binding, you can buy your binding all at one time. Again, we know everybody has their own binding preferences, so you can change the width of that binding strip. And so it's really an all-in-one calculator to help you organize what you have, go to the shop and get what you need, and then get started. So we're really proud of that feature. It took a lot of work, but it's pretty great. So that's kind of the end of the demos, except for one more, but I kind of just wanted to show you some ideas. So you can definitely create your own blocks. You don't have to use blocks from the library, or even use like reverse engineer blocks that are already out there. You can play and have fun with your own block ideas. So this is the same block from the circus tent quilt. And you can see it's kind of made out of half square triangles and then these flying geese pieces. And so this is how, the idea that I came up with using that block in a different way. I was like, okay, I really kind of like these flying geese moving, the blue down, the gray up. Will these roses from rifle paper look good there? And it gave me the confidence to use it, because honestly, that's my favorite print and they don't make it anymore. And so if I kind of like, I kind of want to know that it's going to be something amazing. At the time, we didn't have the ability to put prints into binding, but now you can see what a printed fabric will look like in a binding. This is a very fun, very fun feature for stripe binding. So that's always a good, fun thing to play with. And again, you can use the preloaded blocks. There's so many blocks that there's so many quilt ideas that you can make out of really simple blocks, like a half square triangle. So this was something that I created this half square triangle block by putting 4 half square triangles together, or this block using half square triangles. And then there's a feature called the magic quad. And so what it did is it mirrored this block to this side and then mirrored the whole top down. And I just used with block variations and different colors to kind of give it a quadrant-like feeling. So that was fun. You can come up with great ideas with simple blocks. And this one, every time I see it, I'm always like, I need to make this. So this is a randomization example, and there are help guides and stuff for all of these examples that I'm showing you in our written help guides. So this is an example using both randomization of block quantity. So how many of these blocks do I want to have show up? And then also randomization of where the block is placed in the quilt. And so again, you don't have to come up with it from scratch. You can play with these ideas, just bring in a nugget of idea. What would it look like if a hunter star had 2 different blocks with 3 fabrics instead of 1 block with 2 fabrics? And you can play with those ideas. And then this is something that Gar made. He really doesn't know anything about quilting, but he came up with this really cool quilt with this optical illusion by just rotating this block. I have no idea how he did it, but it is pretty spectacular, and it's using 100 versions of this block.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it took me a while to break that down, but now I can't really tell you. And then you can also make quilt panel quilts and reuse your UFO if you think about your UFO like a quilt top as a panel. So this was a really beautiful panel that I didn't really want to do much more. I wanted to emphasize the panel, but I wanted to make the quilt a little bigger. And so I just played with this stripe blocks, these rail fence block. How would that look? If you imagine, instead of a quilt panel, which was just one huge block surrounded by smaller blocks, but you could think of a medallion. If you're like working on a medallion and you're like, time out, I'm done, I don't want to keep doing this, but it's too small. Well, you can take a really good picture of that and then bring it in as a quote unquote panel. and then build out from there. And you can resurrect your orphan blocks as well if you don't know what you want to do with them. I wouldn't necessarily call these ones orphan blocks. They were actually offcuts, but they were like, they either finish at 3.5 inches or finish at 3 inches. So they were too big for me to throw away, and they were all already completely pieced. So what I did is I took a picture of each of them. You probably don't even need to take a picture of each of them, just maybe take a picture of a few of them to get the idea. And then I just played again with the randomization of position and the randomization of rotation, and played with, you know, again, this flying geese. But in this example, I kept going back to this pinwheel. It's like almost a pinwheel. Like, what would that be like? So I played with it, pinwheeled. Then I played with it some more by adding sashing, and I decided I didn't like pinwheels. But I went back to that idea, and I started seeing these hearts. There's an upside down heart, and so this is what how I ended up using it. And these are small pieces, so I definitely could have played with them by moving them around on my desk. Like, you know, I usually don't have enough space for a design wall, so I was able to play with these things in PreQuilt and not have them fray to pieces while I played with them. And so this is the last kind of demo part, which is how to use the digital coloring pages. So this too is an older video, and we have many more really amazingly talented quilt pattern designers. But what they've done is they've recreated their quilts here on PreQuilt, and you can then mock all of these up using your own fabric choices, but knowing with confidence that you can follow the directions from the pattern to then make the quilt. And so this is just like kind of running through all the various examples that are there. There are, again, like I was saying, a lot more. But if I wanted to, I already know who or what quilt I want to do. This is Anna from the Hackney Quilter. I really love her New Moon quilt. And so it has three fabrics, and I can kind of change what that would look like with pink. And then again, and these are all free to use if you use solids. If you want to use prints, you can always pick a solid that's closest to the print, or you can subscribe and then bring in that printed fabric. But the idea behind this is that it uses the same logic. So in her pattern, her fabrics are going to be labeled A, B, C, and D. You can then buy the pattern, find out how much fabric you need from each of the fabrics, go to your shop and buy those fabrics and buy the pattern, and then you have your project here. You print this off, you put it all together, and now you know what your intent is. We also have a way for you to buy the PDF versions of the patterns. We don't take any commission or anything like that. All it is a button that'll direct you to where the designer wants you to buy their pattern. So it really is just a way to support all these very talented indie pattern designers. And so, yes, software is hard to learn, and we know that there's always going to be a learning curve, unfortunately, but we've tried our best to lower the barrier to understanding how to use PreQuilt. So we have a free course, free tutorials, and free help guides. Our YouTube channel is prequilt.com youtube.com/prequilt. This is what the table of contents for the free course looks like. There's a video for each of these things, and I've broken it down into modules. I taught this course at QuiltCon a few years ago, and so each module has a little bit of an instruction, and then it has an exercise. So the idea is that you watch the video, then do the exercise and come back, and that these modules stack and build on top of each other so that you can work your way through creating an entire quilt. There's also written help, so help.prequilt.com. This all has written help guides. The course also has written and videos. And my goal is to have a written and a video tutorial for each thing. But because it's just a 2-person team, sometimes we haven't gotten around to doing one of each. But if you ever have any questions, just email me at hello@prequilt.com, and I will often do a private video just for what you're trying to do. And so this is what the help.prequilt.com looks like. I think I've renamed this because I think I was going for that Build-A-Bear kind of feeling, like build a block unit. But then it's like, for auto recognition, what does that mean? Well, what that means is if you build your block units, so that means your half square triangles or your square in a square or any of those block units, if you build them in the way that I'm recommending in this help section, then the fabric calculator will be able to automatically recognize that shape and spit out the fabric calculations for you instead of just telling you to cut a big square and then your shape fits in that. So it is a very helpful resource, but I need to come up with a more clever name for it. And so the way that we sell PreQuilt is through subscriptions. There's 2 plans. There's the basic plan and the market plan. And I would say the basic plan is great for everyone unless you're trying to create coloring pages for your patterns and then enable your customers to use that. But if you're not commercializing or selling any patterns, then the basic plan is going to be perfect for you. There's really the only difference between the 2 plans is the ability to create digital coloring pages and have a shop button, and also just how many quilts you're allowed to have. So again, if you're hitting your head on that 50 quilts or 250 fabric swatches, at that time, then you can upgrade to the market plan. But if you don't need to do that until you start hitting your head on that. You can always delete quilts and toss them, and that opens up capacity as well. So I would definitely recommend that. The basic plan is a great place for quilters. And then we also understand the ebb and flow of quilting. So we have a monthly plan for people who are like, I make 1 quilt a year, I need to plan it, and then I'm not going to need the software again for another 10 months while I make it. So the monthly plan is there for that use case. You can subscribe and then cancel. Right now, we're not deleting any data. So if you put things in there, when you resubscribe to PreQuilt, it'll still be there. If we start getting a heavy database that's expensive, we'll give people enough notice to be like, hey, you haven't been with us in a year. Please resubscribe or we'll have to delete your data, right? So, but there'll be a lot of communication around that. But if you're like somebody who's working through ideas all the time, then there's also an annual plan for you.
I love that your prices are in Canadian.
Yep. So that was, sorry, what?
And I love that people can try it for free.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're not happy with it, please just email us, kindly tell us that it wasn't for you, and we'll refund you. We really don't want PreQuilt to ever be, something that people feel icky about. So even if you thought it was for you and then you decided it wasn't after the demo, just let us know. Canadian pricing is something that we really wanted to get. And when the software that we subscribe to that manages all the payments was able to give us that option, we're totally jumped on it. So if you use the code Sewing Cafe, you can save 20% off a year of PreQuilt. So that makes it 52 Canadian for the basic or 100 for the market. And this is evergreen. So you don't need to go and rush and use it tonight. You can use it at any time in the future whenever you're ready. And so if anyone's watching this down the road, it's not live, this is still available for you to use. So, so that's the end. PreQuilt ties cut once. I'd love to answer any questions if anybody has any.
So I know one of the questions we had before we even did the video, because she has to watch it later, she's like, I want to know how to do the free demo. So in the comments, I put the link to that. It's pretty straightforward to get into.
Yeah, and I'll
Like
show you.
simple.
I can probably. Okay, so share this. I'm sharing this tab instead. So if you go up here to free demo, pricing free demo, and you click on that, this is where you would try that for free. So you just go to free, and then everything is right here. So it looks pretty much exactly the same. You can do everything in here. You can randomize colors. You can make a block. The only thing you can't do is save, and you can't use printed fabrics. Those are the things that you would need to subscribe to. But I think that this would give you enough of a chance to try it out to make it sure it's something that you enjoy. Oh, and then Guard did this 11-second example of how you can add things. So yeah. So
That's helpful. Okay. We've had some good comments along the way. Does anybody have any specific questions? Give them a second in case they're typing.
yeah.
I'm really looking forward to playing with some of our William Morris fabrics with this.
Yeah, I could see those being really epic. Or anything that's like Art Deco. I find those, I know those are two totally different periods, but they're just so rich, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I know a lot of Laura's examples have been very modern, but that's who Laura is as a quilter, so that makes sense. It doesn't mean what you do has to be modern, although I would encourage you to try it. Those solid fabrics really do show off your quilting nicely. But at the end of the day, it's your quilt. You do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some comments here. So much amazing information. Susan earlier said that she dreams of actually managing her fabrics. It
Oh,
might be a
yeah.
little out of control. It's my fault.
Yeah. Well, you have a great shop. One of the things that, we can't fit everything in here, but one of the things that you can definitely do is also manage your stash in PreQuilt. I think
Oh,
there's
that's
a lot of
interesting.
room for improvement around what we want to do, but we do have a section where you can tag fabric. You can add, do you have yardage? Do you just have a fat quarter? And it's not quite linked to the fabric calculator. Like if something comes up and you're like, no, you only have a fat quarter of this or whatever, it's not quite there yet. But we're always improving the software. We're always getting new things. So we'd like it to one day be like that. So if you're trying to manage your stash, it might not be a bad place to start. Identifying what you have, how much you have, and then playing with it.
Okay, we've got the question here. I bought a very expensive collection of art gallery fabrics. Could I pre-quilt with them and add some solids to build what I want?
Yes, definitely. I would have to say that Art Gallery is one of the easier manufacturers to download the entire collection and then import it. So in the video where I showed importing that pink swatch, you can actually select up to 25 swatches at one time. So what you can do is you can download that whole collection, just say it has 30, you do 25 first, and then you do what's called a bulk edit. And there's stuff in the help guides as well. I can try and find it and put it in the chat. But then you can bulk edit as well. So that means you do all 25, you tell them what that width is for all 25, and you crop the ruler out for all 25. If it doesn't have a ruler, we do have a little bit of a cheat sheet where like sometimes AGF is 8.5 or whatever, because I know some companies have the rulers and some companies don't, and some companies are all the same and some companies are totally different for every swatch, even in the same collection. So let me try and find that help guide because we do have a lot of resources there. So I'm just going to give you here. I need to join the chat. Oh, how do I join? Can I put it in the chat for you,
Yeah,
Tammy? And you can
throw it in the private and I'll bring it over.
Yeah. So that's a good starting point. It has a lot of little other, so how to import fabric swatches as well. So if you just click on that printed fabric swatches, at the bottom, there'll be all these different, oh, I could probably share this. Sorry.
Oh, I put it in the wrong chat. Here, this might help. I chatted it back to Laura instead of all of you. You know.
Wah, wah. It's late. Okay, so this is what that that's link looks like. It's a lot of things here. If you see this little arrow, it collapses or expands. So, but this is where we can show you how to find the printed fabric swatches, how to import them, how to edit them, how to organize them, and then how to use them. So in the edit one, we talk about a cheat sheet on if you don't have it. But you can also then how to crop it, how to edit it. Sometimes we change the software and it doesn't look exactly the same as the picture, but for the most part, it still works the same. So this is kind of showing you how you can crop things out and do things. And then down here, it's a bulk edit. So how you can do this for multiple fabrics at one time.
Amazing. Susan, I know I'm not actually to blame for your fabric obsession, but I actually took it as a compliment that I'm ordering a lot of the right fabrics in.
It's hard to order the right stuff, like I find that everybody has different preferences. And so I think that it's a great compliment when people love your shop.
There are some people that are like, I'm putting the blinders on. I'm putting the blinders on. I'm just coming for what I pre-ordered.
Yeah.
That's fine. One thing I think that pairs well with PreQuilt and the way that ordering fabric from our shop is that one, we often email you a receipt so you know exactly what the name of the fabric you got is. And two, that name on that receipt also lines up with our website. So if you need to just quickly grab an image, if we still have the fabric in stock, you can grab it from there. You won't have to try to find it on the manufacturer's website. But if you have to, you can. And you'll have a name, so you'll actually know what to search. Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a curator. It is definitely like an art curator.
It is Tammy's fault. When I go there for one or two items, I walk out with so much more. It's a good thing you bring a bag and that it has to fit in that bag. Thanks, guys, so much. Laura, I really appreciate you coming out and showing us how to use your software so well. I'm curious if we can set up a challenge for everybody who's watched. Oh, apparently I don't have my phone on silent. Sorry, guys. Oh, it's not my child. Sorry, my daughter has been having an elevated heart rate, and so sometimes I have to drop everything and just go. Oh, thanks, Catherine. She says, I blame Tammy too. She has great taste. Alicia chooses fabrics too. It's not just me. And we let Catherine in too. Yeah, I totally lost my thought earlier.
You said something about a challenge.
Oh, right. I think because we've watched this, now we have to actually do it to make it stick. Even if you don't sign up for PreQuilt today, I would encourage you by the end of May to get in there and design a quilt, any quilt.
Yeah, just do the demo.
Difficult.
Yeah. And you can still download an image from the demo as well. So even if you're not there yet for subscribing and saving, you can still download an image and then keep that on your, computer for when you're ready. So, it is something that we want to make it accessible. And also, I don't hesitate to email me. A lot of the times, what you're running up against, I either have a help guide already written for it and I can just shoot that over, Or if not, then I can do a private video. I keep them all unlisted, so I'm not giving away your an idea. We really know that these things are really important for people to, I don't want to give all my cool ideas out until I'm ready to launch them in the world. So
Mhm.
when I send you a video, it's going to be a private, unlisted video that you can then, it gets you past whatever barrier you're hitting. And so we do try to get back to people within a day, a couple of days at most. So don't hesitate. hello@prequelt.com.
And I can tell you for a fact, I've known Laura for a couple years now. Totally not judgy. She was not put on this earth to judge you. She's just there to share information.
I'm just there to help you do what you want to do, man.
Yeah.
And
And
like,
most people, when you ask a question, it's probably that four other people needed to ask that question, but they weren't brave enough to do so yet. So it helps Laura know, okay,
yeah,
where are people getting confused? What do
exactly.
we need to communicate?
Exactly. Because a lot of like the help guide all started because I'm like, oh crap, I should have a better way of communicating that. And so it definitely tells me when I need to make a new help guide. And we really appreciate the feedback. And also, if you have an idea or if you're just like, hey, does this do this? That's where some of the best features that we have come from, like customers being like, hey, can you put an image in the background and just trace over it? It's like, no, but we could. And then sometimes it's actually something that's not too hard to do. Um and so we really value the feedback, good or bad. It really helps us make the product better. We're here to stay. We want to be around, and that's going to be the way to do that is to have an understanding of what people want to do. So it really is very helpful for us.
Mhm. Mhm. Also, know that when it's spitting things out to you in yards, I know we cut in meters. It's okay. We can physically give you yards. We'll just adjust the price down. When you're shopping online, you are purchasing in entire meters, but if you just need a portion of a meter, all you have to do is call the store, and Alicia and I can create that order for you. And you can either pay online through a pay link, or we can take your card over the phone. Like, don't feel like you're stuck to the straight meters that are on the website. It's just online websites don't like this whole little decimal system. It's very confusing to them that some things can have decimals and other things cannot.
You can't sell half an orange. And actually, that's really good feedback because one of the things that we meant to circle around and do was be able to convert things into meters, as we are available to, across the globe. So thank you. That's something that we need to eventually get to and have a button to be like, convert it to meters. So, although, like, we're always going to still have like the 1/4 inch for the seam allowance and the quilt math.
Mhm.
Oh, I forgot to mention the quilt math takes into account the seam allowances and stuff. But yeah, so I've gotten enough feedback from quilters that even if you're in the UK, you're still using a 1/4 inch. So we're going to stick with that because that's a lot easier than figuring out how many point centimeters or whatever 1/4 inches.
I, yeah, I know there are people that use metric rulers,
Yeah,
but
just not a lot of them.
no, no. Like, I think I've been asked for a metric ruler once in the 2 years I've had the shop. So,
Yeah,
you
for
know,
now, maybe one day, but for now, we're gonna stick with the good old 1/4 inch seam allowance.
that's fair. That's fair. Are there any other updates you're kind of thinking of doing in the future that you can share publicly, or is it all a big secret still?
Well, and one of the things that we're really trying to do, we just announced it at QuiltCon. We have all of the Ruby Star catalog in. And
Mhm.
so I just came back from H&H and I was talking to with other manufacturers. So our dream is that we just have everything. So it's like
Mhm.
you can buy the stuff from Tammy, or the stuff, the goods. But you can buy your fabric from Tammy, and you don't need to download and import anything. You can just go to Moda, or you can just go to Shannon Fabrics or whatever, and then find the swatch that you want to use. But that's going to take time, and connecting with these manufacturers, and some, it's just interesting. Some of them really get it really quickly. So those are the places where we're starting. And I figure
Mhm.
at the, towards the end, it'll be a much easier sell because there'll be so many other people having done it. So that's something that we're really working on. There are a lot of good conversations that happened. Nothing concrete has landed, so I can't tell you exactly who's going to be there because I'm not sure yet. But
Fair.
that's something that we definitely are working towards. And I mean, there's a huge growth opportunity for like EPP and, off grid grids, off,
Mhm.
I don't know, asymmetric, whatever that term is.
Isometric, the 60-degree ones, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like we'd love to be able to get hexes in there and, do all those features. And we'd really love to get to quilting where you can pick your thread and pick your pantograph and put those together. And so those are all kind of like goals, but I think that we've also, we've been around for 8 years, eight-ish years, and we've
Mm.
just realized, like, not just, but we are coming to peace that we're a small team and things will just take a little longer than we, maybe would want to. We don't really want to bring in investors who are going to like be breathing down our necks and making us charge more or whatever. So, but that's where we're at. And we have big dreams for getting the whole package there for you. So.
That, and when you launch something, I haven't experienced it being glitchy.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, you
We
take
try to
care of
really,
it,
yeah.
push it out there.
And we've slowed down a lot too about making sure there's a help guide, making sure there's some resources there to kind of help people so that, because while we try for it to be intuitive and some people get it right away, it's not always, as easy to figure out. So even I'll
Mhm.
be like, hey, Gar, I wish it could do this. And he's like, it does. Like, no way. So even I'm like forgetting what it can do. So yeah.
That's cool. Okay, well, thank you very much, Laura, for coming tonight and showing us your incredible Canadian software
Thank
so
you.
that the dollars stay up here in a small business instead of a large corporation down south. And we appreciate all you do. I do have one last question, and then I think I'm going to let you go for the night. So we're, as a store, switching away from Kona. Robert Kaufman is now being seen in a competing store, and some of the fabrics, they are selling a lesser quality version of it, although it's not marked in any way for you to know, for less than what we can purchase it for. So as a store, we're just moving completely away from Kaufman,
Mm-hmm.
which means the Konas are gone as soon
Mm-hmm.
as they're gone. So do you have Northcott Colorworks in there?
Yep.
And then we're also going to be doing the Moda solids.
Yep. Yep. Both of those color cards are in there. Yeah, we actually have, I didn't touch base on that in the demo, so I'm glad you asked. We have AGF, Moda, Northcott. And Northcott's a, great Canadian company, and they're becoming, they're bringing in really amazing talent like Anna Maria and stuff like that.
Mhm.
We've had a request for the organics like Cloud9. We just haven't gotten them preloaded yet. So, and this is another thing, a cry for help. If you see, like, there's so many things happening. If you see a color card is out of date because AGF launched a new whatever, just let us know, and then we'll hippity hop and get that in. We want to make it as accurate to what is out there. So yeah, so there's definitely pick your poison is what I say. There's a lot of the solid fabric manufacturers are there, and those are all free to use as well. So because it's a solid,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you so much. I know we're a few minutes over time, but it sounds like you all enjoyed it. So thank you for coming and watching. And we will leave this. Okay, Facebook is going to delete this. I cannot control that. You've got a couple weeks on Facebook. YouTube, it will stay up there for at least a year. So you'll be able to hit our YouTube page. It's youtube.com/sewing cafe, I believe it is, or the sewing cafe. Alicia will share a link in the newsletter. Okay.
All right,
And
well, thank you.
on the YouTube video, all the links I think will still appear there. If it looks like they've dropped off in the comments, I can put the links in the actual description of the file. Okay.
Thank you
And if you're
again.
going to sign up, don't forget about your offer code. We are not taking a cut of that at all. That's just Laura decided to give you guys a discount because she's sweet.
I want to help you guys out. Please come join us. And thank you again, Tammy. It was really great.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Laura. Good night.
Good night. Bye.